to cloud. Cool. Okay, yep. Welcome everyone to the Interview Ready series. Today's session will be on behavioral interview, and we have like Kayan here as our guest speaker. So yep, let's dive in. Before we begin, let's talk about Women Who Code. We are actually representing Women Who Code, and our mission as members of Women Who Code is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. And our vision is a world where women are representative as technical executives, founders, VCs, board members, and software engineers. So with that, what is this Interview Ready series? So I actually came up with the idea for the Interview Ready series, and what it's all about is because every time I did prepare for like a software developer interview, it was really overwhelming for me. And especially in times like these, like the pandemic, where we are at the mercy of the company we're working for, and we can just be retrenched anytime, and you will need like 3 months to prepare for software developer interview, because it's now like 5 to 7 rounds in some companies. So to avoid this whole hassle of taking 3 months to prepare every single time, my idea is to try to make everyone interview ready. So I'm not there yet. This is my attempt to be interview ready by talking more about it with other more talented software developer women out there. So and also like another reason is a lot of us, we're actually working in really toxic environments, workplaces, and we continue to do so because we feel that getting a job elsewhere is so scary, and we're not ready for it, we're not prepared for it. So this is your chance to take your time, get interview ready, and go out there and see what else is out there. You don't have to stay in a toxic workplace. And yep, so how we plan to do this would be to first raise awareness of the different types of interview, also how to prepare for them, and a lot of tips from fellow women out there who have successfully managed to make switches in the past few years. And so that together we are on top of things. We are interview ready all the time. So yeah, let's delve into who am I. So yeah, I'm Saloni. I'm actually a software developer with about 6 years of experience. And I love cleaning code. So I love looking at like legacy code and think about how I can refactor them and clean them or add more tests and use like design principles to make them much better and like extendable. Yeah, I love doing those kind of things. Today we have with us Kayan. Kayan is also a software developer. She has about 3 years of experience, and she recently went through multiple interview rounds, and yep, she was successful to make a switch. So today, Kayan, can you like say a few words about yourself?
Okay, so like hello everyone. So I'm Kayan, and like Saloni mentioned, I recently made a job switch and just started like last month. So in the last year, I actually attended multiple rounds of interviews with around 5 different companies, I'd say. So yeah, the experience is still pretty fresh in my mind. And also, like some of the people in the audience, right, I used to be from a non-CS degree background. So hopefully like the experience I will share will be helpful for you guys. Yeah. Back to Saloni.
Yep. So yeah, with that, let's dive in. Oh yeah, before I forget, so we do have Toshal with us. Toshal, please raise your hand. Yep, Toshal with us. She's also a volunteer with Women Who Code. She's going to be live tweeting all the different tips and tricks that we are going to talk about on our hashtag called WWCode Women Who Code, WWCode Interview Ready, where you guys can also post questions or share some tips that you have learned for today. And yeah, do like even retweet Toshal's tweets and like just spread the word around. So yeah, and if you're like shy to ask questions or anything, you can always post it on Twitter or on the Zoom chat, and Toshal will be like looking up and like trying to get that answered as well. So yep. We are also on other socials, by the way. I think Tosha would be sharing more information on that in the chat. So look out for that. Yep. Cool. So let's dive in. So Kayan, what are behavioral interviews?
Okay. So behavioral interviews are essentially like interviews to see what you are like as a person. And like one of the most common question, right, is very simply tell me about yourself, or like could you introduce yourself? And as you can imagine, you can have a lot of this kind of questions during interviews with even HR or engineering managers. And these questions, right, don't just come up in behavioral interviews. They come up even during technical interviews, usually at the start. So for example, when you meet the interviewer, they will first ask you to introduce yourself and then yeah, etc. So like my suggestion is, right, before the start of the interview process, you kind of prepare your behavioral interview answers. Yeah.
Correct. And also like, actually, it's also very common for technical in technical interviews, the behavioral interviews would be at the starting. It'll make the interviewee a bit more comfortable, a little relaxed before the more technical part of the interview. And it's also an opportunity for the interviewer to get to know you as a person.
Yes. So like from personal experience, right? Aside from the interview being a cultural fit check, like some of the lesser known purposes of behavioral interview that I realize is that it can kind of help the company to understand your technical depth and assign you a rank accordingly. So like if you see some JDs, right, like job descriptions, like the title, they don't put senior software engineer, they put like a senior/software engineer. So you know that they are kind of hiring a vast different levels of software engineer, right? So it's that like behavioral interviews where you get a chance to really showcase who you are. And in some of my other interviews, so companies usually start the salary negotiation process after you pass the second round, and demonstrating your technical depth during the behavioral interview with the engineering manager specifically is usually something I find can help support your negotiation, especially if you're asking for something way higher than they have offered you. And also, behavioral interviews are an opportunity for the interview to understand what kind of leadership experiences you had like prior to this job. And this also kind of ties back to the previous point I made, right? Which is how the company decide where to place you on their pay grade. Yeah. So back to Saloni.
Yep. So yeah, that was really useful, Khan. So now let's dive into our favorite section of this series, which is the mock interview round. So in the first round, it is gonna be Kayan would be the interviewer and I will be the interviewee. So let's start.
Okay, so hello Saloni. Maybe you could like introduce yourself.
Yep. So yes, I am Saloni and I am a full stack software developer, and I actually love solving complex problems, and I like building websites that help users ease their life. And my passion for software development actually started when I created a website using WordPress for my dad's business. It was a very simple one, and I had to use HTML, CSS on top of the WordPress templates. And this was back when I was 16 years old, and that's when I decided I want to pursue computer science as my degree. And it actually allowed me to put something out there in the world where people with internet access can actually access things I have created online. So yeah, that was that's very interesting to me, and that's where my passion came from. So since then, I've actually built dozens of web applications, and I now have about 6 years of experience building full stack applications. And currently in my job, I am helping out to modernize our current existing solutions. So we're moving from monolith to microservices. And yeah, and my preferred languages would be Java and JavaScript, and with frameworks like Spring Boot and Express and React.js. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. So, since you mentioned that your company is kind of transitioning from a monolith architecture to a microservice architecture, like maybe you could let me know if it's an initiative you spearheaded or is it something that has already existed?
Uh, no, so I didn't spearhead this for sure. It was coming from like the top level management in the company. But I do have some so I do own, like, my team owns a few different services. So I do own a certain service as well. So it was my job to lead breaking up this monolith and how exactly you're gonna do that, like timeline wise as well. That was under my responsibilities.
I see. Okay then. Thank you, Saloni. Okay, so
Yep.
I say that's
So
like the end of this question.
yeah,
Okay,
this is the
maybe
end of the mock
Saloni,
interview round.
yeah, I would like to like
Uh,
tell us like what you were thinking as you came up with this answer.
yep. So yeah, so what I was thinking of, like, so tell me about yourself. I actually thought about what can I say that can sound interesting to this person. So of course, I know Kayan is like a technical person, so she's mostly like an engineering manager who's asking me these questions. So I kind of tried to sound a bit more interesting. So I talked about my passion for software development, how that started. So like added like a cute little story there. And I talked about how it brings I brought impact. So like I like working on large scale stuff. So that's how I mentioned about, it's out there for the world to access. I also mentioned my preferred languages and framework so that it sets premise for the interviewer to ask me the next few questions or like the next few rounds as well. So that's what I was talking about. So set premise for future questions. And I try to like not talk about irrelevant things like, oh, I actually have a dog and I love my dog. So like don't talk about, at least this is my personal, I wouldn't talk about such things. I would talk about like what this person wants to hear from a potential candidate. So just be technical and like passion for software dev. So that's what I was thinking. Karen, what did you think?
Yeah, so I pretty much agreed with all the points Saloni have mentioned. So usually in my self-introduction, right, there are like three key things that I make sure I have inside. So the first one is my experience level, like how many years of experience I have. And then second one is my motivation in joining, in pursuing this career as a software developer. So like in Saloni's example, she mentioned that she likes to make web applications that can help people make their lives easier, right? So something along those lines would be nice. And then the last thing is what I'm looking for in this new career prospect, or like what I want in my next job, something like that. Yeah, so to kind of like, give the interviewer a preface of what he can expect from my answers. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So that was like a gist into the first question that we have for you guys. And do know that this is just my and Kayan's
Yeah.
opinion and experiences that led us to these analysis and these answers. It could be very different for you guys. So do remember to like evaluate based on what you think and your own experiences. This is just one of the different opinions that's out there in like the software development interviewing world. So yes, and do like put it up in the chat, like what do you guys think about our answers and what else you would add or what you would have said or would not have said. Yeah, do let us know as well. So diving in, we would like for the next mock interview, like someone from the audience to actually help us, so that we can get like a variation of answer as well. So it will be like a similar, easy-ish question. Uh, any of you like would like to volunteer?
Yeah, to like give a
Yes,
try and
no?
then we can help work on your answers.
Yeah, it's a completely safe environment here. We will not be judging or anything. In fact, you would learn a lot by putting your answer out there. Okay, yeah, we do have one volunteer. I think Anne, you have raised your hand. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you, Anne.
I volunteer.
Awesome,
I'll be the first.
awesome,
Okay,
nice.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
yes. So in this round, I would be the interviewer and you would be the interviewee. So
Okay.
let's start. So yes, hello, Anne. Describe a time where you shared your knowledge with others.
Okay. Describe a time where I share my knowledge with others. Okay, I can try this. So my team has investigated a problem from another team project. So it's something related to Kafka, which is something my team wasn't familiar with. So what I did was to spend a few days to dive into the code to find out what's the problem, how to solve it. And this is like setting up with meetings from different teams or people involved or they are more experienced. And then from there, I draft up what I learned or how to solve. And then I shared I set up a workshop with my team. So this is like a knowledge workshop where I have everything I drafted out, what we go through, what is Kafka, how is this affecting the project. And then from there, my team, it's not only my team, I extended the invitation to anyone who is interested. And it was quite a good feedback from everyone. Like they get to know things that I've learned and also different projects, which is useful if we are gonna like add new features that's related to the different projects. So overall, it's a really fun experience, a learning experience for me. And through talking to people, I've learned a lot, and I also help to bring this knowledge to my team, which I think is valuable. Yeah, so this is the time where I share my knowledge with others.
I see. Okay, hold on. I think Saloni,
Oh, it's gone.
yeah,
Interviewer is gone.
maybe she dropped off. All right,
Oh my God, I
okay,
think,
then.
yeah.
Hey, sorry. So I don't know what happened. My mouse and video just wasn't working. Let me just open up my laptop. I was connected to a screen.
Yeah, no problem. So it's good to often check back with your interviewer to see if they are still there.
Okay, sorry
still raising my
about
hand.
this.
No problem.
Sorry, it now went back to like a smaller screen, so I have no control over what.
That is okay. Take your time.
Yeah, okay, maybe I'll ask the
Yep.
follow-up question then.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had this sharing of Kafka to get your team up to speed, right? Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
so was this something that you volunteered to do or initiated to do, or?
Oh, so there was a problem, but then I volunteered to solve this. So there are actually many things to work on. This is like we have a reliability sprint, which is really awesome. So we can volunteer to see which one you want to work on. And Kafka is something that I really want to work on and learn, because this is something very mature framework that everyone is using. It's not framework, I think technology that everyone is using. So it's something that I want to understand as well. And through this, I learned a lot. And right now, my team is actually using it for our new service. So it really helps to use the knowledge like to the future features or service that we are using.
I see. That's really good to hear. Okay, then I think you can end this question here. Thanks, Anne, for volunteering.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so Saloni, do you have any points or feedback to that answer?
That was actually really well answered. And yeah, like what Kayan mentioned, she actually asked, which one was it actually initiated by you? Because these kind of questions where you share knowledge with others, I as an interviewer would like to know that, did you initiate it, or did someone force you to do it? And do you just have like a sharing skill, like it's not skill, sharing personality, like you like to share things with others, don't just keep things to yourself? So yeah, you did mention that. And it was good that you talked about Kafka, but you didn't delve too deep into it. Like you didn't start explaining how exactly that works and what it was. So that was good. If I wanted to ask more, I would have asked you. So yeah, that was good. So I because I was like not paying attention towards the last part, did you actually mention like how, okay, sorry, ignore me. Yeah, Kayan, back to you.
Okay, then maybe like we can proceed to the next slide.
Yep. So yeah, our tip from
Yeah.
this.
So I was thinking maybe like okay, so Anne did a good job of talking about like the technical stuff she did, right? And this question is actually a great chance for you to show some seniority in terms of your technical depth. So for example, if like she were to have shared something along the lines of oh, I shared on how to build a to-do app with React from scratch, that would be an answer that lets the interviewer know okay, this person is probably a junior developer, versus like resolving a critical bug. So I resolved this critical bug and then I shared with the team like what I did, what are the steps, like what was the underlying causes. Like, so this kinds of like set the differences. So one is a junior developer and one is perhaps a mid to senior level developer. And yeah, so that's my kind of my view for this question. And I see Tosha, do you raise your hand? No, okay. All right, then back to Saloni.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was like a nice round. Yeah, thank you, Anne, for volunteering. What about like, so we have another question for volunteers. If anybody else would like to like give it a go. Is there anyone? Oh, yeah, I do see a hand raised. Toshal is, yeah. Yeah, cool. Toshal, can you like turn on your video maybe?
It's on. I see it.
Oh yeah, you are there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, thank you for volunteering. So in this one, I guess Kayan would be the, sorry, the question is this one. Kayan will be answering it? No.
No, I'll be the interviewer and Tosha will answer.
Yep. So yes, you may begin and the slide is here.
Okay, so hello Toshal, thanks for your introduction. So how about you tell me about a time where you failed at work and how do you handle it?
Thank you, Kayan. So this is a very recent experience that I faced. So I was going to deploy a model and demo it to the client, and it was a part of a backend. It was a part of a backend model, and the whole demo was sort of dependent on this model working perfectly. So the reason I failed was because of the time constraint and a lot of last minute changes as requested by the demo supervisor on the client side. I forgot to put in the final model that I had trained for my AI solution. And because of that mistake, that even though the demo went well and the client did not notice a certain irregularities, I believe that the demo could have been better, and we could have gotten like our accuracy rate could have been a lot better, and we could have whatever we prepared for the last week, my team and I kind of I felt that I let them down. But instead, I explained that I guess I handled it a little better. I talked to the client about what the irregularities were, did not point out that we made this mistake, because client don't want to know that your demo failed because your AI model wasn't updated. So I decided to let them know that we are working on it and we have made certain changes on the AI side. Since it's an active research problem, then I explained in a little bit more detail to him about what a timeline should be for the next demo. And he was quite impressed that even though there were some mistakes on our part, we gave them a full demo.
he was happy to have another demo with all the changes, and he gave us he agreed with our timeline as well. So I think I handled it pretty well. But yeah, so that was my experience.
I see, I see. That's an interesting situation. So, so like you mentioned that you forgot to put in the model, right? Maybe like was there? I mean, since I assume it won't be the last model that would have been created in this whole project, and like was there any like plans or any like recovery what how do I say it? Like any mitigation plans for the future so that such cases do not happen again?
Yes, actually, we before the demo we had version -1 model, so it was the previously updated model was anyway working, so the demo went fine, and everything was working perfectly for the client as well. So we had a recovery model that was not newly trained on the new data that we acquired, but was trained on the other data. So that was, I suppose, the mitigation strategy. But I guess I could have been more careful to manage the time better and give the put the right model in.
I see, nice. Okay, then I think we can end this question here. Yeah, so maybe like Tosho, do you want to like talk about like what were you thinking when you hear this question and why you choose to share this particular story?
Yes, so in this, I think I just thought that the interviewer would like to see that the right example where I failed, and that would reflect how I might fail. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So he would like to see like how I would handle such situations in the future if I make such similar mistakes in the company if I join. And if it should be something like not too technical, but like just the right answer for this, and it should be a positive way of how I handled it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so actually like what Toshil say is pretty right. A lot of times where this kind of questions come up, right? Like what the interviewers are looking for is that I mean all engineering managers know that, you know, there will be cases where a bug will appear in production or some kind of mistake will happen in the pipeline. So this kind of things are so common that they want to know how you will handle it in terms of like your maturity or like how you take charge of a bad situation that you created. So something like that. Yeah, and for Toshio's answer, like perhaps for some of the things that I hear she says terms like, and also just to emphasize again, these are just my personal opinions from the experiences I've had, right? Like I wouldn't say something like uh we tried to hide this from the client because client doesn't want to know that we made a mistake. I would have like rephrase it to, I mean, that's true, but in the interview perspective, like it's not a very nice thing to say. So I will maybe rephrase it to say that we managed to deliver the demo successfully and then recover the issue before the client finds out. So it's actually the same meaning, but then you phrase it in a way that's less defensive and more open. Yeah, that's one point that I would like to bring up. Like Saloni, do you have any other points?
Yeah, yeah, actually, I would also like, yeah, your answer was really good. Like, and I was thinking like maybe in terms of mitigation. So as in just for like the rest of you, Social is not like a software developer. She's from data science. So that's why she was talking about AI models, but it's equally relevant. Like this question can be used in her scenario as well. So maybe in terms of mitigation as like an interviewer, I would also be looking out for things like how can you automate the process such that these kind of things doesn't happen, or it automatically goes back to the version -1 model, things like that. Like you don't have to manually, take it out from your PC and like put it in, something like that. So I would like to hear like automated tools being used, and so that your deployment is more stress-free next time. That's something I would think about as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
so Maybe you can
Yep.
move to the next
So
slide.
correct, yeah. So our analysis from like this question was that so we came up with cause. So like do talk about what caused the failure, how you would process it, and then how you would mitigate it. So yeah, that's also actually how Toshio like went about her story. So that was nice. So yep, that's that. So for the rest of it, like maybe we can like pause here. Like, do any of you have any experiences to share regarding this question, or how differently you would have answered it, or what did you like about Toshio's answer? What you would avoid next time? Anyone? If you're sure, you can like type it out in Zoom chat as well. No? Okay, no issues. Then let's move on to the last question, which I did not have a slide in between. But yes, that last question would be back to me and Kayan again. And this time I would be the interviewer and Kayan would be the interviewee. So Kayan, are you ready?
Yep, good to go.
Yep. Okay, yep. Yep. So Kayan, next question I have for you is, so you did mention that you are not from like the computer science major, you're self-taught. So how did you exactly get started on learning how to code?
Okay, so previously I was from an engineering degree, an electrical engineering degree. So even though like I didn't take CS, right, I had basic knowledge on microprocessor programming, which was just really, really basic C. Like we only worked with if else statement and at most for loops. So because of that particular module I took, it got me really interested into software engineering. And at that point, like there was this very popular resource called Free Code Camp. So I actually jumped on that and took up some course to create my own to-do app. Yeah. So from there, I kind of expanded out to try and make my own other pet projects like a personal web portfolio or some fun things that eventually I posted on GitHub. Yes. And during that period, I would say I learned through resources that are mostly online, as well as like attending meetups. Pre-COVID time, we could actually head down and attend like sessions and like like one that I attended was like Tech Ladies, which is where Saloni is also from. Yep. So I mean, as a beginner, right, it was very obvious that I would have met with bugs or hiccups during my learning process. And how I usually resolve that is Googling or going down to like at those meetups that I mentioned earlier. I know that there will be senior devs there. So anytime that I have any issues, I'll go and try and network and ask around like, hey, can anyone help me with this? Yeah. So that's about how I started learning how to code.
Awesome. Yep. So maybe like how do you like as someone who started to someone like who's a little more less experienced, how if you do get stuck on like a bug, how do you unstuck yourself?
Okay, so like aside from like just now I mentioned, aside from going down to ask senior devs for help, right, I also utilize like very common tools like a Stack Overflow. And maybe even before that, I'll do something like console logging or just like adding a breakpoint to my IDE to try and check if like the output is as per expected. And if all things fails, usually I would just maybe like take a day break from programming and then work on something else. And normally in this case, when I come back the next day, I realize that I get to see the issue in a new light. And then by then the code, the bug itself will be usually fixed. Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. So we'll end the mock interview round there, and let's ask for Kai An's analysis. What do you think? What were you thinking when you were answering this question?
So I was thinking like usually when this kind of question comes out, right, what they want to know is like my creative solving process or how I tread learning new things. So I mean, as with this career, right? Like you're always learning new things, like things are moving so quickly. So I guess like that was what the interviewer kind of wanted to know. And in fact, like this is a question that I got a lot during my search for a first job in this industry. Yeah, so that's why I gave like a very clear thought process on how I started, like what I did, and then also like yeah, how I unstuck myself, stuff like that.
Nice. Yep. Yeah. So what I think was that it was answered really well. Like I know that as a new person in this career, you will be able to get yourself unstuck, and you are passionate about this. But maybe like when I asked for like how do you get yourself unstuck, you could have been more specific with your examples. It would have made it a bit easier for me to understand a little bit more about what you mean when you mean like ask for help. What kind of help do you ask for from other devs? What kind of breakpoints are you putting in, things like so. Yeah, like example would have been better. Otherwise maybe
Yeah, so like
I
for
guess
this question, yes, continue.
just a small one, like I was also looking out for like, do you know as a software developer, do you know when to ask for help? So like if you say things like, oh, I would time box myself, give myself 3 hours to resolve a bug, and then I would then ask for help, and then I would explain the different ways I have already tried to resolve this, and that's why I'm asking for help. That's another trait I look out for in software developers, where they know when is too long to be stuck, and they know when to ask for help, and they also don't ask for help too early. So yeah, that is something I was looking out for when I asked this question as well. Yep. Pan.
Yeah, so like for this question, right, this is usually targeted at very junior developers, but then there are also variation for like more senior levels. So for example, like in my recent job search, they asked me stuff like, how did I get started on fixing a particular bug? And I would assume like if you're a senior developer or lead developer, they will ask questions like, get started on designing a particular architecture for a new system that the company wants. So yeah, so these are the kind of things that you can prepare for depending on your seniority and like the job scope that you're interviewing for.
Okay. So yeah, our tip from this question is be specific with examples, and like that makes you sound a bit more convincing, and also it's easier for you to explain what you're talking about as well. So yeah, so this would be our last like mock interview round. So Kayan, please go ahead with like the key takeaways.
Yeah, so maybe like some tips before you go on your behavioral interviews, right? I would highly recommend that you try and find out your interviewer's role on the team prior to the interview. So this is because like say if it was it was an engineering manager, you will know that you should deep dive into some more technical stuff in the interview as compared to like if the behavioral interviewer is just HR or maybe a UI designer that's on your team, right? Then you know you try and structure your answers to be more of a personality thing. Like you don't want to go deep dive into technology stuff because they probably wouldn't really get it also. So, like behavioral interviews normally are very short, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes max. So you really want to make the most out of it. Yeah. And also like it would be good to research on the company's profile. So for my current company, they are someone who really is really into social work. So because of that, right, like I kind of like I was aware of that, and lo and behold, like the question came during the behavior interview, like, how would you use your technical skills to give back to society? And if I didn't prepare for this in advance, or if I was totally caught unaware, right, this kind of question can really like trip you up because it's not something that is commonly asked. And even though you might have like relevant experience, right, when you're put under pressure, you just cannot think about it or you won't articulate it well. So that's why like I really recommend that if you have time, yeah, research a bit on your company's profile, like not just on their websites, like on Glassdoor, to kind of understand what their culture is, and then you tailor your answers towards that direction. And also like behavioral interviews can definitely get technical. So for a few of my behavioral interviews, they end up diving into it end up changing a bit into a system design interview because of some of the ways I answer my question. So what I suggest is, right, don't throw away all the code practice and all the system design things, concepts that you have learned for your previous 2 interviews, just because you feel like, okay, I'm at the behavioral interview round, I'm getting the job already. So yeah, and like what I noticed is if your interviewer is an engineering manager, usually they will have notes from your previous interview rounds. And sometimes they will just like go back to that, like, why do you choose to implement your solution that way? And if you have like completely relaxed and threw out all your, like knowledge on that, right, it can really put you in a pinch. Yeah, so try to read up a bit. No need to go in depth, just a bit before each round. Yeah. And last but not least, like prepare and rehearse your stories. So like that's how you can see, right? If we ask an impromptu question, like you have a lot of this kind of filler words, and like although it's understandable, it can make you come off as someone not very confident. So if you have like rehearsed your stories and like recalled your incidents beforehand, right, you can articulate it way better, and it kind of leaves a very good impression on the interviewer. At the same time, you should also think of ways that those examples can be reused. So for example, just now, question 3, right, we talk about tell me about time when you failed at work and how you handled it. So for that question, we can mention something about like you introduced a bug in production and then how you fix it, etc., etc. But if you look at question 2, it says describe a time where you shared your knowledge with others. So you can actually reuse this same bug in production story, except now you modify it. Like instead of talking about the cause and the process to fix it, you can talk about how you shared it with your teammates so that this issue won't happen in it. And what was the impact? Like, were you the one who took the initiative? So it's actually just one story, but you can use it across multiple questions. And like what Saloni have mentioned previously, it's very good to be specific. Yeah, so this was like kind of the feel I got after going through those like behavioral interview rounds. Saloni, do you want to like add anything?
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, that was a really like nice summary. Thank you, Kayan. Yeah, definitely like the part where we can reuse our answers, that's really important. There are the same story can be said, can be put into different questions. So do remember that. It will be nice if you can like write down these experiences that you have had in your career on like a Word document so that you don't forget. And it should be very natural for you to like just come up with these stories like, oh, I actually gave like a talk on GraphQL once, and go back to like, oh, I actually did it because we faced this error, things like that. It should be very natural. It will give you like a confidence boost as well. So actually doing like preparing for this session, Kayana and I, we actually written down our notes and we hadn't actually said it out loud. So when we were practicing, it was actually very weird for us to talk about our stories because we had just written it down, we hadn't spoken it out loud. So definitely when you're rehearsing your stories, do speak out loud. Like put it in proper words, don't just put it in point forms anymore. That will really help you gain some confidence as well. Yep. So yeah. that is these. Yeah.
Oh,
so
maybe like one thing I forgot to mention. Yeah, so when you're talking about your stories, right, try not to use like we did this or we did that or we fixed something. Try to use like I fixed something, I initiated this, or I caused this, something like this. Because I mean, I know that the interviewer will definitely know, no one fixes a bug on their own. It's always a team effort. But like my experience is that every time I go like, oh, we something, like at the end of the interview will ask something like, oh, so like exactly which part did you contribute to, So it would have been easier if I just went like, I resolved this issue kind of thing. Yeah, so just a small tip.
Right. Yep. So like from my side, like usually when I go for behavioral interviews, I usually I feel like one of the more important traits to put out there would be the ability to receive and give feedback. I think feedback questions are very common. Like just like tell me about a time where you received feedback and how did you handle it? Like a criticism, not just any good feedback, but like a criticism and how you handled it. How do you handle stress? How do you handle ambiguity at work? How are your leadership skills if you're a bit more senior? Have you led a project before? And tell me about like a problem you had in it and how you resolved it. Team conflicts is very common. So like just have an experience for each of these traits already written down on like a Word document, and that would really help you. And you know, like how coding interview rounds, there's like LeetCode, like there's a platform to help you. I realized like behavioral rounds don't really have like a platform to help prepare us for it. So what I do is usually I have like a Word document where I just note down random experiences of mine, and I have like a bunch of questions there as well. So I just mix and match. So I was actually thinking of sharing that with you guys, but I didn't have time to put it up properly. So I would spend some time fitting that up, and I will be sharing it with you. It would be probably on our Discord channel, so do join us there. I think Toshal has shared the link with you. And even you guys, like if you have such a Word document or something, do share it with us. Like the better we build our community, the more confident women we would get in tech, right? So let's do that together. Yep. So yeah, those are basically our tips and tricks for today. And yep, we are actually now open for questions. I realized like, yeah, this bunch is not very talkative. Like last time we actually had a lot of people chatting on Zoom chat. So do feel free, it's a safe environment, and like you're not judging or anything. We just want to share knowledge with each other. Yeah. We can like even go back to like our questions, like if you have any feedback that you think would be good for others, or if you have any questions that, oh, can I actually say such things? Can I talk about this experience of mine? This would be a good chance to ask. Yeah, if not, yeah, we have this hashtag.
I see someone raise their hand.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. First of all, thanks for the session. It was really helpful. So my question is, recently in an interview, I was asked about like, what is your working style like, or how do you like to work? Is it in silo, or like, this was the question. So how do you answer this? Like, what is the best or the appropriate answer to this question?
Okay, maybe I'll say something first. Okay, so I think this kind of ties back to one of my points, right? Which is you kind of research on the company profile, like maybe through Glassdoor or the website itself, to get a gist of like what kind of things they like what kind of culture they like. But if you can't get any info from these places, right? Like what I personally do is I play a middle ground. So I say like, oh, personally, I like to work as an individual contributor, but like at times that can get really boring. So it would be nice to work in a team too, you know? So you don't like pigeon yourself into one type. Yeah, like you try to let the interviewer know that you're flexible, you're open to anything, and you're just like willing to try and, you know, like fit in and stuff like this. Like that was how I would go around doing it. Yeah.
Okay. And also, like, while discussing some of my college projects, I was referring, like, as you mentioned, we. So, like, after the discussion, they did pointed out that who are we? So, like, it was a group project, so I had to say we. So, in that, like, in while referring to our group projects, also we should refer as like I or answer in that way.
Yeah, I would have gone with like So since you mentioned it's a group project already, right? Like the interviewer would already know, okay, it's a teamwork. But if you continue to go we all the way, that it's very hard for the interview to, interviewer to identify like what exactly did you contribute. So maybe the contribution could have been like, even though it's only one task, like multiple people could have contributed to it, but you did contribute to it too, right? So it's kind of like, from my point of view, okay to say like I did this part kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, like back at like the working style question, I actually have faced that before as well, and I was actually quite taken aback by that question because I had never come across that before, and I didn't really think about my working style as well. But yeah, I really agree with Kayan's answer. I was also the middle ground person. Like, yeah, at times, some work does require us to work individually, and so I give examples. I'm like really big on examples. So I would say things like, so there was this time where we were just creating the data model. So two of us, we worked separately. We created the data model and we came together to discuss it. We also have pair programming that we used to do at work. So I talked about that. Yeah. So yeah, examples, and like it's good to be in the middle when you're not sure where and what are they thinking of. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
Toshal, you raised your hand. Did you want to add something or share something?
Yes, actually, I wanted to add for the second question that Shreya asked about the group project thing. I actually very recently faced that same thing, and I made it very specific. I made sure that the interviewer knew what the V part was and what the I part was. So I constructed my answer in such a way that I told them that we did A, B, C, D, and in which I contributed majorly to A and also partly contributed to B. So that kind of helps in clarity of them understanding what the whole, not going very detailed into the project, but also help them understand what majorly I contributed in and highlighted my skills for the relevant job.
Yeah, we actually do have a question in the chat as well. So what if you don't have related experience to share for certain questions?
Okay, so for me, I think I did face this issue once. So it was a pretty ridiculous question. So I think the interviewer also kind of like knew that I probably wouldn't have experienced it. So it was something like say, have you ever experienced a time where your PR has been left hanging for so long and no one is agreeing to merge it? Something along those lines. I can't remember the exact phrasing. So I didn't experience that before, but then like I can't just say, oh, I didn't experience that before. I don't think that will happen in real life. So usually when I come across this kind of situations, I'll say something like, I'll just be honest. So I'll say like, personally, I haven't experienced this in my course of my career. However, if it were to happen to me, I would do it this way, or I would approach it this way. So that point of behavioral interview is to know how you react in a working environment, right? So even if you haven't had experienced it before, you can try and like preface it and then let the interviewer know how you would have done it anyway, even though you haven't experienced it. Of course, it would be a plus point if you did experience it, because like Saloni mentioned, you will have very concrete examples and it will be very tangible. But yeah, it doesn't mean that you never experience it, then you just give up on the question. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, hope that answers the question, Anjali. Yeah, I would have done the same thing as well. Yeah, be honest, like, yeah, I've not faced it before, but this is how I would have reacted to it. Yeah, it could let your imaginations run wild, I guess, with that. So yeah, we have another question, Mariana. She says, for a reason for wanting the job. So I guess if the interviewer is asking what is the reason for wanting the job, is it enough to say our interest for the company, like what they do, and that I want to get an opportunity to work on the latest / good tech stack? I think that's actually completely perfect. Like, so why are you interested in this job? yeah, I would like to hear things about the company, good things about the company, and to know that you have actually done your research into what we do at this company, and that you are someone who wants to work on good tech stack, and you know what good tech stack is in the first place, like, and but yeah, this could also be a bit here and there, because not all companies use the latest tech stack. And some of them know that they don't use the latest tech stack. Some of them actually think they are using the latest tech stack from 2008. So, but yeah, I think it's completely all right to mention that you are interested in a certain tech stack, and that you know that this company uses it, and what interests you in this company is, like, for example, in terms of Kayan's example, she said her company is interested in social work. So I am someone who also likes to contribute to society, and therefore would like to join something like that. That's really good. But yeah, do make sure you know that they use good tech stack, and, like, you know, they are using what tech stack in the first place, if you want to say that.
Yeah, definitely answer my question. Then how about they connect this with the, the time, our time in the previous job. So let's say we work in the previous job for only 2 years. How if maybe some boss think that we have to work for long years, right? How if they ask us, you stay for 2 years, right? You want to look for another job. I mean, I think this is a bit unfair to judge number of years. But if let's say we are faced with that situation, right? Do you have insight how to? Yeah, I was thinking I can go along, like, wanting to find better stack, etc. Yeah. Is there any other idea how to tackle this? The kind of maybe assumption that one needs to work for very long in one company.
What is the question that they would ask in this situation?
I think I came across something like this, my boss, but I did get the job. He said something like, you were given this opportunity in the previous company, it's quite a good one. You stay for 1.5 years, right? What made you want to move? Right? So it's actually then I say about the why I genuinely want the job, right? But there's a hint about the time spent not so many years in the previous job. So I'm thinking, if let's say the person, the interviewer, right, really push us across this, like, are you a job hopper or something like that, right? Is there any like a tip how to kind of indirectly not answering that? Because I guess it's like we are applying for a job because we are interested, right? I mean, so there's no point to talk about the previous one.
Yeah, that is actually very true. I'm also of the opinion that I don't think people should be asking, why are you leaving your previous job? I don't think that's a good question to ask. But yeah, definitely people can ask that. How I would answer it, like, so if according to this person, I have worked a really short amount of time in my previous project, and they are in the previous company, and they're asking, why did I leave, and why did I leave so early, something like that. I think I would say things like, I do not think the duration really matters. It's about what I have contributed, how much I've contributed in my previous job, and how much I've learned. And I think I've reached the peak to my learnings in the company, and I'm looking forward to, like, more to explore another domain or another type of company. Like, it could be like consultancy versus product companies. We can use that example, or you can say things like startup to MNC, or MNC to startup, that kind of example. So try to divert away from the main point, which was, why do you just work for a short time? I would try to divert the question. Maybe Kayan or like anyone else from the audience. That was a really good question, actually, Mariana. Yeah, like we don't talk about these questions a lot, but yeah, they are definitely out there. Yep. Anyone else from the audience, like you would like to share, like from what Shreya, Anjali, and Mariana shared? Like these are really good questions. Yeah. Okay. No issues. So yeah, we are like at the almost the end of like our session. I hope this was useful for all of you. And yeah, thank you, Kaian, for volunteering yourself for this for a behavioral round. We do have, so every month we would have this interview ready session, and every month it's a different kind of interview type. It's usually software developer related. So next month we have a system design or a technical round coming up. Let me just check that. It is a system design round coming up. And after that, we would have probably a technical one, and we even have like a front end course coming, front end developer question, interview question coming up. So do look out for that. And yep, so that's it. Like, do let us know like if you liked our session and like how else we could have improved it. Just leave it out there in the chat. And if you would like to join us in our next session as our guest speaker, please do let us know, because we do need more volunteers to come join us for the next few sessions. So yeah, you can contact like me, Toshal, or like in any of our social media links. I think Toshal has shared it in the Zoom chat. Yep, and yeah, do follow like our hashtag WWCode InterviewReady to just revise the tips for today. Yes, Toshal, do you want to say something?
Actually, I wanted to ask everyone their consent if I can post the screenshot on social media. If everyone would like to turn on their videos, we can have a quick screenshot and post it there.
That would be really nice. Like more people would like to join us if they see that, you know, the nice friendly people in this session.
Yeah. Okay, I'll wait for everyone to switch on their videos. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, let me take a quick screenshot. Everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Yep. Do let us know if you have any like feedback for us and how we can help you guys further. And yeah, do let us know like if you're interested in joining us as the guest in our next few sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's just me and you now. Okay. Phew. I always make like mistakes in my sessions. I get like a blank sometimes. That's why you're on mute.
Sorry, it happens with me as well so many times.
Yeah.
So yeah, about the social media, I think today's session went well. We had little less interaction than previous one, but I think it went well.
I think it was good that I like planted you guys so that at least there wasn't like awkward.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you guys did volunteer that, you know, at least at the end people did ask questions. If not, I think they were quite shy.
Yeah, it's always good to get the ball rolling, like overcome the inertia.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, and yeah, even I wouldn't have volunteered actually if I was attending the session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just getting.
Okay. Yeah. So social media wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I was just
okay, you
saying.
can actually
Like.
help. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. You start first. Oh wait. Let me stop recording. Oops.